He was the steady force behind ACDC's thunderous beats, the heartbeat of the band for decades. But when the spotlight faded, Betrayal struck like lightning. Phil Rudd isn't just calling out the band. He's making a bold promise. I was betrayed, and I can prove it. What really happened between Rudd and ACDC? And why is he finally breaking his silence now? The truth is louder than ever, and it might shock even the biggest fans. Phil Rudd joined ACDC in 1975, when the band was still finding its sound. He wasn't flashy, he didn't crave the spotlight, but he had something no one else did: powerful rhythm and perfect timing. Rudd's drumming gave ACDC the punch it needed. He was the force behind hits like Back in Black, Highway to Hell, and You Shook Me All Night Long. Even Angus Young once said that without Phil, the songs wouldn't hit the same. Fans loved Rudd's no-nonsense style. He rarely gave interviews and stayed away from drama. He seemed like the one guy in the band who could stay grounded, while the rest lived the wild rock star life. But under that calm surface, something was building, a storm no one saw coming. In 1983, Phil suddenly left the band. Officially, it was called a mutual decision. Unofficially, there were whispers of fights with Malcolm Young. Some said Phil didn't like the new direction of the band after Bon Scott's death. Others believed drugs and stress had taken a toll. Whatever the reason, Phil walked away, and the band brought in Simon Wright. For years, Rudd lived in New Zealand, away from the chaos of fame. But in 1994, he returned. The reunion was powerful. It was like he never left. AC/DC sounded whole again, and things stayed that way for years until disaster struck in 2014. This time, it wasn't a quiet exit, it was an explosion. Phil Rudd was charged with serious crimes, threats to kill and drug possession. Headlines exploded. The world was stunned. ACDC moved on without him once again. But Phil always said, that was just the beginning of the real betrayal. In 2014, fans were excited for AC/DC's new album, Rock or Bust. But just before the release, the unthinkable happened. Phil Rudd was arrested in New Zealand. The charges? Attempting to hire a hitman, threatening to kill someone, and possession of meth and cannabis. It sounded like something out of a movie. The media went wild. But Phil denied everything. Later, the most serious charge, trying to hire a hitman, was dropped. It turned out there wasn't enough proof, but the damage was done. Phil pled guilty to threatening to kill and drug possession. He was sentenced to home detention. For a man who had toured the world, it was like a prison. What hurt Phil the most wasn't just the legal trouble. It was how fast AC/DC dropped him. They replaced him with Chris Slade without waiting to hear his side. In Phil's words, "They threw me under the bus." He claimed no one from the band called him. No support, no loyalty, just silence. AC/DC moved on and didn't include him in the Rock or Bust tour. Phil felt betrayed. He had been there from the start. He gave his life to the band. And now, when he needed them, they disappeared. In interviews, he started speaking out. "I'm not finished," he said. "I've got proof, and people need to hear the truth." But what was this proof? What was Phil holding back? He hinted that the band had secrets, things fans didn't know. And he was tired of being quiet. I was betrayed. Phil's side of the story. Phil Rudd didn't just feel abandoned. He believed he had been targeted. In several interviews, he explained that his arrest was used as a cover. He claimed that certain people wanted him out of the band and saw the arrest as the perfect excuse. According to Phil, the band had already been talking to Chris Slade behind his back before the arrest. "They were planning this," he said. "I was being pushed out and no one had the guts to tell me." These weren't just words of anger. Phil said he had emails, texts, and inside information that proved he was replaced long before the trial even started. He also said that the band knew he had personal struggles but didn't help. Instead, they let him spiral. "I was going through hell," he admitted. "Instead of helping me, they cut me off." He talked about the pressure of touring, the pain of losing Malcolm Young to illness, and the isolation of living far from the rest of the band. But what really made fans listen was Phil's calm tone. He wasn't shouting or begging. He was simply telling the truth as he saw it. And it sounded heartbreakingly real. He wasn't just a drummer kicked out of a band. He was a friend betrayed by the people he trusted most. And just when people thought the story had ended, Phil made another bombshell promise. I'm not done. I will tell everything. And when I do, it will shake this band to the core. The evidence he claims to hold. Phil Rudd never named names directly, but he gave strong hints. He talked about documents, private messages, and even recordings that could prove the betrayal. In one radio interview, he said, "I've got things I kept, just in case. Things that show I was pushed out long before the public knew anything." He hinted that some people inside ACDC's management were working against him for years. It was a setup, he claimed. They didn't want me back, and they used the legal trouble as a way to make it clean. But Phil believed it wasn't clean at all. It was cruel. He also mentioned a strange moment that fans picked up on. Just before the Rock or Bust tour, a promotional photo was released. It showed the band without Phil. No explanation, no mention. It was like he had been erased. "I wasn't even told," Phil said. "I saw it when the world saw it. That's how I found out I was out." The betrayal wasn't just professional, it was personal. He spoke about feeling heartbroken when no one from the band called or checked on him during his house arrest. Not one phone call, he said, not even from Angus. To Phil, that silence said more than words ever could. Phil also claimed that there were people who knew the truth but were too afraid to speak up. "They know what happened," he said. "They know I'm not lying, but they won't say anything because the band is too powerful." Trying to make peace, but being shut out. After the dust settled, Phil Rudd hoped to fix things. He made several public attempts to reach out. He said he wanted to rejoin the band, not just for fame, but because he loved the music and missed the bond. "This isn't about money," he said. "This is about what we built together." But AC/DC didn't respond. They continued touring without him. They didn't invite him for the band's big comeback in 2020 either. Even when Brian Johnson and Cliff Williams returned, there was no room for Phil. "I thought I'd get a call," he admitted, but nothing came. Just silence. Phil tried to be the bigger person. He even complimented the band in interviews. "They sound good," he said. "I'll always love the music, but it hurts knowing I'm not part of it anymore." He added, "I was a founding piece of this machine, and now I feel like I'm being treated like I was never there." Despite the rejection, Phil focused on healing. He worked on solo music and stayed clean. He stayed in New Zealand, far from the spotlight. Fans around the world started asking, why won't ACDC just bring him back? Some believed the damage was too deep. Others thought the band had simply moved on. But to Phil, it wasn't over. "I have one last move to make," he said. "The full story hasn't been told, but it will be." And what came next would send shockwaves through the rock world. The final blow, his truth, uncensored.